Are Hindus really in danger? These days, the Sangh Parivar, the BJP, its WhatsApp university and its propaganda machinery have been circulating a lot of misinformed videos and messages on social media with a key fascist agenda to create an imaginary fear among Hindus that India will soon become a Muslim-dominated nation. Let's not fall for that propaganda and instead look at the basics. The total fertility rate or the TFR of a country or a state is the average number of children per adult woman. As per the international standards, when the TFR reaches 2.1, it is called the replacement level. If the TFR is higher than 2.1, the population would eventually be growing, and if the TFR is less than 2.1, the population would eventually be shrinking. In fact, most of the developed countries across the world, such as the US, France, Germany and Japan, with TFR less than 2.1, have already started to shrink. As per the World Bank statistics, India's fertility rate is currently at 2.05, but it has been declining rapidly since the last few decades, from 5.91 in 1960 to 2.05 in 2020. The increase or decrease does not happen overnight, but it will take a few decades to reflect in the population growth. As per the new estimates, India's population could peak in the year 2048, reaching to 160 crores and then start to decline. As per the central government's NFHS data, the southern states have already gone below the TFR of 2.1. But states like UP and Bihar have a TFR above 2.1. It's just a matter of time before these states catch up to show a decline in population. It is a general trend across all nations and states in the world that as societies and communities tend to prosper, their women get educated and empowered, and the population growth shall start declining and soon start shrinking. And this trend is applicable to all societies, including Muslims. Though Bangladesh is predominantly Muslim, it has already reached a TFR of 2.0, which is less than that of India's. Prosperous Muslim countries such as the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain and Iran have already shown a decline in their population. This goes on to show that the population in a society will decrease irrespective of the religion. What matters is prosperity, women's education and empowerment. Now let's look at Muslims in India. In India, all economically backward communities show a higher fertility rate. STs have a TFR of 2.5, Muslims at 2.4, SCs at 2.3 and OBCs at 2.2. According to the Sachar Committee report, the socio-economic status of the Muslims in India is more or less similar to that of OBCs, SCs and STs, and not surprisingly, it is reflected in their fertility rates as well. Therefore, it is not the religion, but the socio-economic status of a community that decides the fertility rate. The poorer the community, the higher the fertility rate. Already in a more developed state like Telangana, the TFR of Muslims is only 1.9, which goes on to prove that Muslim population growth is a function of their prosperity and female literacy. The most likely scenario is that Muslim growth would taper off and their current share in Indian population, which stood at 14.2 in 2001, may not exceed 18% even at its peak. And after that, there is a strong likelihood that it would decrease. In summary, Muslims will never become a majority in India, not even in the next 300 years to come. That they would become a majority is a blatant lie. It is an artificial and imaginary fear that is being created by the right-wing trolls. The problem with such belief systems is that they are not based on real facts or evidence, but only on feelings. And some of us subscribe to such false notions easily because of deep-seated prejudice against a certain religion, some of which we might have inherited from our society around us. The biggest danger we face is the massive polarization of this country into us versus them, where some religions are seen as internal enemies by Hindutva, which means we are sowing the seed for a large-scale campaign of hatred, which could subsume us all, including the destruction of the very idea of India. What India should be focusing on is to improve the socio-economic conditions of Muslims, as recommended in the Sachar Committee report, and ensure improvement of female literacy rate among the Muslim women. This will ensure that the growth rate of Muslims will be close to Indian average, seeking a shrinkage in their population very soon. Thank you. Jai Telangana, Jai Hind.